Hey folks, Mike here. Just like to bring you up to speed once again on the progress that we've made so far in the swapping of the Turbo 350 into my 1992 Volvo 244. We didn't get quite as much done as what we had thought we were going to. Here in the Northeast, it's been just oppressive. The heat's just been horrible. So we got a few things done, and I would like to go over a couple of things that might help others. A couple of potential problems that people have. I found some quick and dirty solutions I'd like to share. The first thing I'd like to talk about, there's always a problem picking up the oil supply, the pressure for your turbo. So what I've done is I modify the base of the factory oil sending unit for the dummy light. Now the thing with these is this is British pipe thread that goes into the block, and it has a crush washer on it, although this one appears to be missing. Now what I do with these is I break off the plastic part on the top, and it starts out with a very small hole here in the bottom, factory, and I run a drill bit up through here, and this is something you want to be very straight and precise with. So I use a big pillar drill or drill press at work with a machinist vise, so I make sure everything's nice and square. I run a pilot bit down through here, something like a number 10 bit or so, and I clean all the guts out. Then I turn it around, put it in the machinist vise, and then I drill appropriately, right size drill bit for the 1/8 inch NPT tap. And I believe I drilled this one the whole way through with the big drill bit, so you still see you have plenty of meat there. And I run the tap down there pretty far. I probably just over 3/4 of the way, because you definitely want nice engagement. Now before I did this mod, I would always stack up a whole bunch of brass fittings and go through the play the fitting game, you know, the little straight stump. And then I would run a T, and then on the branch of the T I would run my pressure line for my turbo, and out the other end would come the space for the electric oil pressure gauge that I use. But I solved that problem too. No more of that brass crap. Most of the time, in fact I guess it was twice, my conglomeration of pieces just broke off, because a lot of times you buy these brass fittings and it's absolute crap, and they're actually cast, and it would always break off right flush with the fitting here, and it would be a mess, and it would just, I said no more of that stuff. So I found a solution for that. Since I work in a machine shop, I have a machine shop friend of mine make me something here, which I'll show you. It works perfectly. So we'll take a walk up here, and I can show you what I got. Okay, down here you can see, this is for the electric oil pressure gauge. Now this is made out of steel, solid steel, and what he does is I think it's 3.5 inches long. I'll have him make me another one here at work, and I can show you a better picture of it. And it's got an 1/8 inch NPT male nipple on the bottom. It screws right into the block, and he machines a nice flat surface on both sides here, so you can get an adjustable wrench on there and tighten her in. Up near the top, he drills a 90-degree fitting directly into the channel here in the passageway. 1/8 inch NPT, and that of course runs my pressure line up to the turbo here. And then this end comes out, and on here you can thread for your gauge, and everything works out pretty well. I run a cast iron manifold, so it comes down through and it misses this, and the alternator is fine. It's fairly close, but everything works out just fine. And this thing is like rock solid. There's no more vibrations and all that good stuff. And before, I believe, with that those cast pieces that were crap, all this weight here must have been shaken around just enough to create a fracture. So that takes care of that. Now, the other the other thing I wanted to talk about, I like to run a water temperature gauge. So what I did here, initially I bought one of those fancy tees that you can buy. It's an all aluminum tee. I think it's a 1.5 inch diameter hose it suits, and it had an 1/8 inch NPT in the top. In fact, let me see if I can find it. And what you have to do with that is you have to splice it into your upper, here it is, there we go, there we go. Have a look real quick and I'll show you. And right here, this is what I had into my upper radiator hose. It's a T Meshi Moto or something like that. And you can see that it has a 1/8 inch in NPT here for my gauge. Well, it wouldn't work. Well, here it needs a ground. So now you're looking at 2 wires now that you have to run. And I ran 2 wires along here and zip tied it on, and still see the marks, you know. I mean, it did the job, but it kind of looked kind of crappy. So this isn't going to go back on the car. What I did do instead, Volvo has their temperature sensors that screw into the passenger side upper radiator tank. And what I've done here is I've removed one of those and gutted it, and I soldered in a bushing. And this bushing goes down to 1/8 inch NPT. And of course, it being metal, the tank being metal, takes care of the ground issue. And then my fitting here, this one here will screw right in place, right in there. So that'll take care of that. Now, when I was running LH, I discovered that a Volkswagen, I'll have to dig up the part number for you, it had two blades that came out, and I don't see it sitting around here. Oh, yeah, what am I saying? There we go. There we go. Right here. This here is from a Volkswagen, but it has the same metric thread. So, and this had the temperature on-off range that I was looking for. So, I also had my fan wired in on a manual override just in case. But now, what I'm going to do when it comes time to switch, I'm going to put this guy in place, and then we'll screw in our sensor here, and it'll be a nice, easy thing to route the wire over and around, and that'll take care of all that stuff. Okay, one other thing I'd like to cover is my machinist friend at work also had made me a really nice LS coil bracket here. I made the drawing and everything, and he used the CNC machine, programmed her up, and cut it out of solid 1/4 inch aluminum plate. I think this is 6061. And what's really nice about this, and you've probably seen this mounted on the valve cover on my engine on the stand, but this works out really well. It mounts the factory square LS coils, and these are the short wires. Now, these wires come in 2 different lengths, and I got these for like a truck. I guess they're like a 1500 Silverado, like an 03. They have I think it's a 9.5 inch wire and then a 12.5 inch wire. I bought a set of the 9.5s for my car, but I don't know. Either will work. I think next time I'll probably go with the longer ones, because you can always just kind of twist this boot around a little bit and get everything to look nice. But incidentally, he kept the program for these things, and if anybody's interested, you can get a hold of me and I can put you in contact with him, and he can make one of these for you too. And also, if you're interested, the oil pressure sending unit adapter pieces are also, he could also make those for a reasonable cost. So anyhow, that probably brings you about up to date as far as what we've got done. Since it was so bloody hot outside, we decided not to crawl under the car, and we started working on wiring the MS3. So we got quite a bit of spaghetti here. We started coming out of the firewall grommet over here and snaked along the back of the firewall, and it comes down here, and the first connection we made was right back there, and that's for the coolant temperature, and these are going to be for injectors and whatnot, and then the rest of the spaghetti here is going to find a home for sure. And he also has to build the harness for all these LS coils. The other thing we discovered when we were going to wire this is I initially wanted to build MS3, and I had assumed that the MS3 would do sequential fuel injection, and it doesn't. It's the MS3 Extra that indeed does all the sequential and has a whole bunch of other features, and I decided to bite the bullet and simply buy the companion board that I guess it's the daughter board that goes inside the unit. So that should be here by Wednesday. So we kind of held off on everything until then, and some of this other stuff too. Oh, I'll be picking up that my buddy the dipstick, I guess, on Wednesday as well. Several things are going to have to kind of be in a successive order in order to get everything fit, because certain things are going to be perhaps obstructions for other things, or you'll have to route like the transmission cooler lines and such around the downpipe and everything else. So I really think in fact those transmission cooler lines will probably be the last thing to be installed. I did pick up a couple of pieces of 5/16 line here, which we'll be bending up, and I'm going to put this my front end back on again. I mounted the factory cooler right here for the transmission and bent the lines around here. So we'll be meeting up with these, and we'll get it all squared away. It's just a matter of a progression of things that needs to happen. Underneath the car, we didn't really continue much further with the cross member installation. I'm not quite 100% happy with my shifter just yet. In my position, I need to have complete and total full range of operation of the shifter. Since the reverse pattern valve body has a drive located where first normally is, I definitely need 100% travel and positive engagement in all the positions of the transmission shifter. So I think what I need to do to gain a little bit more travel, what I'm going to do is extend the tab, the arm of the shifter handle that sticks down, and I'm kind of thinking maybe something very minor, like maybe a 1/2 inch. I'll just make a little tab and add it to the arm to give me a little length, which will give me more travel at the other end. And I think that's what I need. I mean, it's just a whisker away from engaging in low position. So it's just a minor thing, but just another detail I have to take care of. I'll take you under the car here and let you have a look. I installed the drive shaft, and boy, you wouldn't believe how that fits. So hang on just a second and we'll be right back. Okay, here we have the drive shaft installed, and it's coming up through here, and I got the old Guibo thing up in place. That was a chore to wrestle that sucker in there, but look at that, there's the money shot. You just couldn't want this any better fit. I hope this is gathering enough light to show, but everything looks good. The slip yoke is about halfway out, right where I thought it was going to be, and I'm not worried a bit about it, because again, since this has the guibo and the center bearing support and everything, this front drive shaft does not move in and out at all, so it's completely trapped. I think it has plenty of engagement, and I think it's going to work just fine. And as far as the transmission goes, I had to wedge a little block of wood in here. I'm going to center the tail in the opening here, and that's just about it. And then, as what I just discussed with the shifter, is right here. I'm going to add a little tongue on there, maybe like a 1/2 inch, and then put my pin through it just like it is, and wind my barrel around, and I really think that it's going to work out just fine. And that's about it. So that brings you up to date, and I should be back at it Wednesday. I'll be posting another video, perhaps Wednesday or Thursday, so stay tuned. Alrighty, take her easy.